Remember the time Meg started acting really strange, making Stewie and Brian suspect something was going on? They decided to follow her and discovered she was having a romantic affair with a prisoner. Shocked, Brian told Peter and Lois, who scolded Meg and forced her to end it. But Meg refused, saying she loved him because he was sweet to her and only in jail for stealing medicine for his mom. Lois, however, told her not to be naive and that the story was probably made up. Heartbroken, Meg ran to her room in tears. While crying, Meg heard noises and discovered her prison boyfriend sneaking into her room. He told her he escaped just to see her and kiss her, which made Meg happy. Seconds later, Brian entered, forcing Meg to hide the prisoner in her closet. But Brian quickly sniffed him out, and Peter soon arrived, shocked by the situation. The prisoner fled, and Peter called Joe to capture him. After a tough chase, Joe caught the prisoner, and Meg too, for being an accomplice since she knew about the escape and didn't call the police. Meg was sent to jail, which made her feel terrible. After several months in prison, she returned home completely changed, both physically and mentally. Now tougher, Meg declared herself the new leader of the house. She even fought Peter, beat him up to assert her dominance, and started taking revenge for all the bad things he'd done to her. Meg made Peter's life miserable, pulling off pranks and humiliating him in all sorts of ways. She also grossed out Lois by doing things like using a trash can as a bathroom. When it's time to go back to school, Meg's entire class mocks her, throwing all kinds of offensive jokes her way. However, with the help of a bedsheet, Meg manages to get revenge on all the bullies, finally making them stop tormenting her. That same day, the family holds a meeting because they feel Meg has become too violent and is causing a lot of trouble. But just as they're discussing it, Meg barges in and forces them to fight each other. This situation deeply unsettles Brian, who decides to leave the house for a while. As he gets into his car, Meg suddenly appears in the backseat, pointing a gun at him. She forces Brian to become her accomplice in a robbery to get money and leave the house for good. Reluctantly, Brian agrees. However, during the robbery attempt, Brian tries to talk Meg out of it, giving her advice and reasoning with her. Meg refuses to listen. In desperation, Brian grabs a magazine in which he had written an article about his family some time ago. He shows Meg the article, telling her that she isn't the person she's become. When Meg reads it and sees what Brian wrote about her, she changes her mind. She thanks Brian for reminding her of who she really is and decides to go back to being herself. That night, everything returns to normal, and the family sits down together for dinner, as if nothing had happened.